Cool, we're live. Awesome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to you wherever you are in the world. And welcome to Crack Code into Few Problems in Rust episode 2. So before we kick off the stream, this is a stream. We want you to be engaged. We want you to be involved. We want you to ask your questions. We want you to jump in the chat and have fun. We're going to ask you questions. The chat is there for you to use. But you have to abide by a code of conduct. It's in the chat already. It's pinned to the chat. Make sure you basically don't be a jerk or we'll kick you off the chat and ban you from Microsoft events. And with that, let's get started with today's stream where we're cracking code interview problems in Rust. And I'm excited for the second week in a row to be joined by Nell Shamrell-Harrington. So Nell, I want to say hello and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Nell Shamrell-Harrington. I'm a principal engineer here at Microsoft. I am also on the Rust Foundation Board of Directors, and I am the lead editor of This Week in Rust. If you're not subscribed, I hope you do. It's the weekly pulse of the Rust community. Been doing Rust for a number of years now, and am happy to be here on stream coding Rust with you, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. And I'm Jim Bennett. I'm a regional cloud advocate for Microsoft. So I get paid to do stuff like this. So, best job ever. Now, you mentioned This Week in Rust. Let's actually, I should have dropped a week. I should have dropped a link to that in the chat, actually. So let me just bring that up and drop a link in the chat for everyone.
One says, I like that, like I said, the number of years, I've been doing Rust for a number of years now. That's true. I don't remember off the top of my head how long I've been doing it. I haven't been there since the beginning, but I've been there for a while now.
Which is a lot longer than me. I've been doing Rust since, I think, December.
Cool.
So
that's awesome. Yep.
Which is why I'm excited to be here learning from you actually now. This is great. So yeah, obviously we've seen one jump in the chat. Welcome back, one. You joined us last week. Thank you very much for your help. Yeah, you helped us with a number of syntax things. So thank you for that. But yeah, this is a conversation. So folks, feel free to jump in the chat, ask questions, say hello. We might ask you questions. We want to get your thoughts as well. And if it's anything like last week, I think we spent the first half an hour answering questions before we even looked at code. So, we're here for you. We're here to support you. One says, welcome, Jim. We love to have you too. Thank you, one. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you. But yeah, so I guess actually question for the audience then, who's watching. Are you using Rust? I know a few folks are, but are you using Rust? And if you are using Rust, are you using it just for fun or are you using it in your day job? And also as well, actually, where in the world are you? Ned and I, we're both in the Pacific Northwest of the US. But yeah, it'd be good to know where in the world you are as well. So we get folks in the stream, but the streams at this kind of time from Europe. Folks, it's their evenings. They come and join us from Europe. But yeah, where in the world are you? So put it in the chat. Would love to hear from you. But yeah, we are going to try and write some code today. One actually did pull us up on this last time. One says yes for my part-time job, and I'm in Canada. So one is in Canada and doing Rust for their part-time job.
Awesome.
Nice. That's cool. Because now that there is the number of Rust jobs is starting to creep up.
It very much is.
A lot more of these now. Do you think? I guess you're probably hoping this is going to grow, but are you seeing a growth in this area?
I am. And in part because, something I can say within Microsoft is over the past few years, I've seen Rust transition from something that's very, very experimental. We're going to see what happens with it to saying, okay, this Rust language is real. The value is real. What can we do with it? What, sorts of services that will be in production soon? What can we write in it? And what can we refactor into Rust when pragmatic and when necessary?
And you're saying about what can we refactor into Rust? One thing
what can we rewrite in Rust, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one thing we're seeing is obviously there was an announcement for Rust support in the Linux kernel. Yes. And I saw a very teasing tweet from someone on the Windows team saying there's potentially some Rust support coming to the Windows kernel, and they've got a session coming up at an event to talk about this. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know the details either, or even if I did, I wouldn't know if I could talk about it. But definitely come to that session.
Yeah, so I want to keep an eye out for what that is, because yeah, actually having more support in the OS is only ever a good thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
It means that you can build things like device drivers in Rust and they work. That is a good thing. Yeah, because how many times if you interact with the hardware and the device driver just crashes?
It's
So,
really frustrating.
so having a bit more, a safer language for that, that is not going to be a bad thing. A few more comments in the chat. Creed Wilder says San Francisco. Welcome. Hello from to you in San Francisco. And Creed Wilder is doing Rust for my video game side projects.
Ooh, cool.
Ooh, nice. I guess Creed Wilder, a question for you is: are there any good game frameworks for Rust? Yeah, I've not heard of any, but can you use the Unities and the Unreal Engines in Rust, or are there other game frameworks? I'd love to know. Matthew Bravo's from Canada as well, from
Cool.
Toronto, using it just in my free time to make a database from scratch. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a BTech student at the moment. Oh, awesome.
What does
Awesome.
BTech mean?
So BTech is, well, so actually it depends what it is, because there's in the UK there's BTechs which are you would at different levels. You can kind of take them at like 16, 18, and they can, or even like degree level.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So they were, because the UK used to have what O levels became GCSEs across multiple subjects, and then you could also do BTech as well. They had like BTech higher diplomas, so it's kind of it's a level of qualification.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So Matthew, I don't know if that's the same as what you're doing in Canada. I know there's kind of overlap between the UK and Canada, so yeah, let us know. Scott McKean, Bachelors of Technology.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool.
Bachelors of Technology. Nice. Scott McKean says, I'm in Portland. People in my company are starting to use it in prod. So nice. So you got people
That's
using
awesome,
Rust?
Scott. I am an alum of St. Mary's Academy in downtown Portland, Oregon. So you definitely have connections there.
Nice. So Creed Wilder says, I've been using Bevy. And Matthew Bravo says Bevy is
great.
pretty great.
Yeah, I know some of the maintainers of that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool game framework.
That's just okay. I'm gonna search for Bevy Rustlang.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
we had this last week. We searched for something with Rust, and we searched, was it Tide as a phrase?
Tide, yeah, using Tide to get rust stains out of clothing.
Yeah, you don't want Tide pods when you want code, do you?
No.
And Bevy is another name for drink, obviously. Okay, so Bevy is a game engine built in Rust. Okay, it's got 2D renderer, 3D renderer. Oh, nice. Because we were talking last week about how you could build UI applications in Rust, weren't we? And obviously Bevy UI. So maybe you could use this as a game environment to build a UI. Ooh, nice. I might have a dig in this. Every now and again, I dig into game frameworks and try and put a game, and then I give up because I realize I can't. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, speaking of device drivers being written in Rust, I know a few years ago a hindrance to some kinds of game programming being written in Rust was the drivers for things like video cards and such were all written in C++. But I do know there's been progress on interfacing Rust code with C++, and I'm hoping we might see more device drivers be written in Rust in the future.
Nice. That would be cool. Yeah, because anything that makes device drivers more reliable.
Yes.
It's like I remember the classic demo of plug and play, because that was kind of the first Windows plug and play where it's automatically install the device drivers and just work, where they plugged in a scanner live on stage in front of Bill Gates and it blue screened. So.
Yep, of course. Yep.
Cool, awesome. I'm gonna check out Bevy. Thanks, Creed Wilder. So yeah, anyone else in the chat, if you're doing Rust or you want to let us know where in the world you are, please do. But yeah, jump in with any questions. We're here to help. We're here to answer your questions in Rust, as well as we're here to learn some stuff and have some fun. Now, actually, another question for those in the audience: who was here last week? I know Scott McKean, you were here last week. One was here last week, but who was here last week? Let us know, because last week we started to look at a word search problem. Very much started to look. I think it's
correct.
Fair to say. So the problem we're solving, this is the kind of problem you might get in a coding interview. So the whole purpose of this series is to kind of show how experts like Nell and not so experts like me might approach these kind of interview questions, kind of the LeetCode style interview questions you might get in a software engineering interview
And
in
my
Rust.
approach initially is anxiety. But I have found the more you work through them and practice doing them when other people are watching you, which no one codes like that once you're on the job, but it does get easier with practice.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of a top tip for anyone who's looking for work, who's interviewing, is to practice these. And as you say now, it's practicing these out loud in front of people, because chances are in the interview you're going to have an interview panel actually there with you, and you're going to be talking through the problem in front of them.
Right.
Um,
And I honestly, I mean, for me personally, I strongly prefer take homes for technical screenings, but a lot of the big tech companies don't do those. They do the live coding interview problems, which I mean, there's a variety of reasons why you might say that's problematic, and I probably agree with most of them. But at the moment, if you want to get a job with them, this is how they interview. So, but it's not an insurmountable wall. We can scale that wall when we practice doing these problems together.
yeah, the more practice, they are literally practice, aren't they? The more practice you do, because chances are what you'll see is in a leak code exercise is something you've already seen before if you've done a lot of practice,
Right.
Which doesn't necessarily test your ability to solve the problem. It just tests your recall.
Hmm.
Yeah, have you hit this problem before? Yeah, it's not about do you know the algorithms and data structures. It's have you seen this problem before?
Right.
And obviously, the
Right.
more you do, um, the more likely you are to have seen it before, the easier it is. So yeah, yeah, it's one of those, whether they're a good thing or not. An interview is still very much up for
Hmm.
debate. I have my thoughts and opinions. I definitely think the real value there, if you're doing these kind of problems with people around, the value is the conversation. The value is
Right.
you're talking through your thought
And when
processes.
you have a skilled interviewer, which is not always a guarantee, but you hope if you have a skilled interviewer, they will know that it's not about the right answer necessarily or the answer that they expect. It's about the conversation around it.
Yeah, how you approach the problem, how do you talk, how do you communicate? The number one tech skill is communication.
Right.
I talked about this a lot on various streams of focus on careers. The number one tech skill is that ability to communicate with others. It's that ability to talk to other people, tell them what you're thinking, listen to them, learn from them. So if you can do this out loud, if you can work the problems out loud and get feedback from the team of people setting the problem and use that to guide you, that is such an important skill. Viral vlogs say, is Rust can be used for competitive program like C++.
What's competitive programming?
Yeah, I've not heard of that before. One says I wouldn't say it cannot, but it's pretty verbose. Yeah, viral vlogs. What do you mean by competitive
Is that
programming?
like can do this program in the least number of characters? Is it like Vim Golf? I've heard of that, where people try to do something within the fewest keystrokes possible in Vim. But yeah, competitive programming. I'm not sure what that is. I'm very curious now.
Yeah, viral vlogs. Please let us know. Because you say sometimes you get that. Can you solve the Fibonacci sequence in like 13 characters in C or something? Um, I don't know. Yeah, viral vlogs. Let us know.
Yeah.
Uh, Tech Life Journal says, I'm good at development, but I scare and lack confidence when it comes to DSA, so data structures and algorithms. What to do?
Tech Life
Practice.
Journal, I feel you. And I have coming up on 15 years of professional experience now. I still get scared and lack confidence in recalling data structures and algorithms, off the top of my head, because honestly, in my day-to-day work life, I don't. So there's a few things. There's resources available to help. Interview Cake is one of my favorites, in part because, and that's what I use to prepare for my Microsoft interview. Yeah, it takes a nurturing approach to learning how to recognize problems which may be related to data structures and algorithms. The thing I don't like is, and there are some YouTubers who do this, you know, videos that say they're going to teach you how to do this, but then instead they berate you and make you feel stupid for not knowing it. That's just bullying, frankly. And if you ever have an interviewer who does that, I've had that happen once. That interviewer is being a bully, and even if that it made me, even though it made me feel horrible in the moment, I realize that now that no, and that was a problem with the interview and that interviewer in that case, and that's not a place that I would have wanted to work for. So finding And there's a lot of YouTubers that do this, also finding other interviews, again, like Interview Cake, that take a nurturing approach to guiding you through this and showing you how they work. And I'd also say, if you're trying to do a problem and it's just not coming, don't keep throwing yourself at it when you're practicing. Stop, look up the solution. Hopefully there's a walkthrough that shows how someone got to that solution. Then try doing the problem on your own again. But don't just throw yourself against it over and over and over again, because it's all about recognizing patterns.
And it gets as well, if you keep going at it, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get angry, you're going to get annoyed with the problem. That's not going to be productive. I mean, a lot of us, when we're faced with a tech problem, we will go for a walk. We'll sleep. We'll
take a shower.
Yeah. So if you're stuck on it, take a break. Go for a walk. As you say now, take a shower, have some lunch, have a cup of coffee, then come back to it. You might be in a better mindset. Also, as well, if you're interested in solving the problem for a particular language, you could also have a look at the solution in a different language, because that may give you some hints and tips, and then you can then apply that to the language that you're interested in. So, if you're interviewing for a Python job, for example, then you maybe look at the solution in JavaScript and then use that to then think, rather than be given the answer in terms of what Python data structure I should be using, see it in JavaScript. That might inspire you with what to do in Python.
Right. Yeah.
So, and just practice. You can't do them often enough. Get on something like Twitch as well.
Yeah, and don't feel bad if they scare you. Or these kind of problems scare you. They scare me too. And again, 15 years professional development experience here. They are scary, but there's ways to work through them.
Yeah. And there's the more you do them, the more you get to know them. Jason Zion says, and if you're interviewer, pay attention to what they just said. Yes, if you're an interviewer, don't focus on what people can recall. Focus on how they can apply themselves. Don't be a bully. That is a complete red flag for your company.
If the interviewer is asking questions and it makes them feel superior, that's not an interview. Again, that's bullying. So yes, listen to people, give them space to come to the conclusion, and don't be a bully. It's rude.
Yeah, you're not better than someone because you happen to know the answer to a particular problem. That if you think you're better than someone because of that, then yeah, you are just a bully. Tech Life General says, could you please share the resources in the chat? So Nell, what was that?
Interview Cake.
Interview Cake.
And there's other resources too. This just happens to be the one that I use to prep for my Microsoft interviews.
Okay. Interview Cake. Okay.
And again, I liked this one because it took that very nurturing approach.
There you go. Just dropped a link to that in the chat for you, Tech Life Journal. And Tech Life Journal also says, I learned the MERN stack when I apply for jobs that ask for at least 4 to 5 years of experience or data structure and algorithm interviews. And AI is doing much advanced stuff now. I'm scared and depressed. Don't be scared. Don't be depressed. It is a tough time in tech at the moment. We're looking at 250,000 people have been laid off from the big tech companies. Right. It is a tough time. The way you're going to get over this and get success is you have to put the work in. And there's a lot of great resources you can get to kind of help guide you through data structure and algorithms interviews, like things like Interview Cake. Put the time into practice, and then think about how you can get a portfolio up there. You send about 4 to 5 years of experience. Do you have anything public that you can show as personal experience? I have not done this in a job, but here is an application I built on GitHub, for example. Do you have that portfolio? Have you done stuff with the MERN stack that you're showing off at, on GitHub? Maybe you could create a YouTube video where you talk through something you've done. But think about how you can set yourself above other people by showing the skills you've got. That kind of helps get you through the door. You say AI is doing... Oh, sorry, now.
I was going to say, just the other thing I would add to that is you're talking about looking at jobs they ask for. You're looking at the job requirements. So job requirements on job positions are, in my opinion, often unnecessarily verbose and specific. Like there's been funny instances where the job requirement is more years of experience with a technology than that technology has been in existence. If you meet 2/3 of the job requirements, I highly encourage you to apply anyway. That's something I had to learn because I was only applying to jobs if I met every single one of the requirements. And it took a lot of feedback talking to my peers, talking to others who say, no, no, no. If you meet at least 2/3 of them or 3/4 of them, or you meet the core ones, there's just some additional ones that it seems like they think would be nice to have, but aren't necessarily involved with the core job responsibilities. Apply anyway. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah, and you do have to get a bit of a thick skin to rejections or indeed just
Yeah.
being ignored.
Yeah.
Some companies will very politely let you know that you haven't made it past just the basic resume screen. Other companies will literally get you to the end of the interview process and then just ghost you.
Yeah, and
So
I've had that happen, and it sucks, and you're wondering what you did wrong. You probably didn't do anything wrong.
yeah, it's just that's how they do things.
Yeah.
So you do need to get a bit of a thick skin to rejections, and then sometimes it is a numbers game, not
Mhm.
because you're competing with people who are necessarily better than you. It's just there's so many more people, and it could just be that a recruiter gets hit by 500 resumes, and they literally cannot sort through that. So they may end up just going, what, I'm just gonna take the first 10. We don't know what kind of goes through the mindset of the recruiters involved in this process. So keep doing it. Think about your personal profile as well. Put stuff on GitHub. Think about what you put on social media. Do you blog about this topic? Do you have anything that shows you are above someone who's got the same skills but doesn't do these things? So there's a lot of stuff from Microsoft React YouTube channel. We'll get a link to that dropped in the chat, where we talk about careers. We've got some good interview shows. I interviewed a load of folks around careers whilst playing video games, which is a bit of fun. There's a lot of good stuff there with some good tips for you. But don't be scared. Don't be depressed. The tech industry, it is at a tough time. We're all feeling it. We're all a little bit worried of, if I lose my job tomorrow, will I be able to get the next job? Especially in countries like the US, where no job means no healthcare.
Right.
So it is a scary time. I totally get where you are coming from with this, but the more you can do to build up your profile, the more work you can put in. And then, as you say, there's DSA interviews. So can you work through things like Interview Cake or HackerRank or LeetCode and build up that level of experience? And then if you've got friends who can do this with, get 3 or 4 of you. I remember my teenage years, we used to get a load of computers in a room and have a LAN party where we play Doom together or something, but instead have a LeetCode party. Get together with your friends and just hack on some LeetCode problems together. See how you can kind of support each other. So there's lots of good things you can do. And then, keep on coming to these streams and asking questions. We're here to help you as much as we can.
Absolutely.
So one answers the question on competitive programming and says, competitive programming is where they give you these interview type questions and so you can solve the most in the least time without submitting wrong solutions. Okay.
Oh.
So here's
sounds like a words per minute typing contest a little bit. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm a really fast typer, so therefore I'm going to be. I guess it's also how you apply those problems. When you get a problem, it's not just how fast can you type it out, but if you know the solution.
Exactly. Yep. Cool.
Also, Tech Life Journal says, I'm a full-time employee, YouTuber too, and I've show projects and building projects. The whole world is messed up. Banks are collapsing. My dream to mastery looks like not possible. We are going through a tough time at the moment. So great that you're doing stuff on YouTube. Great you're showing for projects. That's the right thing to do. It is a tough time. People use words like it's a tough macroeconomic climate, but these things are cyclical. I was there working for the banks in the UK when Lehman Brothers collapsed, and you were looking out the window and seeing people walking out with their big boxes of stuff. That was 2007, 2008. We had the peak. It didn't last. It came back down again. So just hold on. Everyone's clearing out people at the moment. They're doing it to boost their stock prices. Not going to get into my thoughts on all this kind of stuff, but it will go back the other way because, AI is not going to replace all our jobs.
Yeah. And you're not alone, Tech Life Journal. I want to make sure you know that you're not alone.
Yeah. A lot of people in a similar situation. So, so one says the questions are hard enough that typing isn't the limiting factor. So this is with the competitive programming, the kind of questions get asked are not. They're complex questions, so it's not about how fast you can type.
Right.
Tech Life Journal says, thank you guys. I feel better. Sorry for off topic. Not at all. Not at all. We're here. Our job is to help you. That's why we do these streams, is to get you the answers to the questions. And the reason we focus on things like interview problems is to bring up these discussions around how you can do well at interviews. You're saying, I'm struggling with data structure and algorithms. That's literally what we're looking at here. So totally fine. No need to apologize. Glad to have you here.
Cool.
Cool. So we're actually going to try
Let's do some code.
Yeah. Let's try and write some code. So the problem we've been trying to solve is a word search. If you're here last week, you would have seen us start talking about this. The idea is, given a board of letters and a word, can you find the word going left, right, up, and down, but not diagonally? So this example here, we've got hello. That's the word we want. In here, we've got world, going backwards there. And here, the word is rust, but we do not have rust. We have R-U-S and then diagonal of the T, but not left, right, up, and down to get the word rust. So given these boards and a word, we need to return true or false. That's what we have to do. And one thing we talked about, just saying about when you're in these kind of coding interviews, communication is so important. One thing we talked about is these boards are all the same size. They're 4 by 6. Can we always assume the board is going to be 4 by 6? And that's kind of question you'd bring up in the conversation with the person who's kind of setting this exercise for you. Can you make this assumption? It should be clear in the challenge if you can't make this assumption. Here we don't actually say. So we've been making certain assumptions for it. And what we got so far, we're using Visual Studio Code with live share. So Nell is already in my Visual Studio Code. So in fact, there you go. There's Nell's person there. And Nell's been getting my computer to say things.
It's fun.
It is fun. And so last time we started with a test case. And this is how I like to approach these problems. And it's kind of one of my top tips for people is start with test first. Build a test case that's got one of the examples in there. Ideally, you want all the examples, but start with one because that shows you're thinking test first. And that gives you a framework to start thinking about how you want to represent your data, what data structure do you want to use to pass your data to the function that you're trying to build. And then you can get that kind of quick feedback as to whether it works or not. Cool. So we built that, got our board, got our word. We started that is in board function. And then we got as far as going through the board and then iterate. Well, we set up some 2 nested for loops to iterate through the board. So we go across the down each row, and then for each row we go kind of across the column. And we've also got we pull out the first letter. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking for that first letter in the word and then start looking around it. That was kind of the thought we had last week. And a big shout out to One who helped us with the code. I think this whole enumerating through iterators was One, and I think someone else jumped in the conversation as well to help us get that. And then using the nth to get the first letter. I think that was One as well. So thanks, folks, for diving in and helping with us. So yeah, we're in a place to start thinking about looking for the first letter.
Yeah. So I was doing some research on breadth first versus depth first walks because I had to remind myself of the difference. I do still have to do that regularly. I think we had talked about doing breadth first at the end of our last stream. I have heard that depth first might be better for finding a specific sequence of letters, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I'm wondering if anyone in our chat might have some opinions or some thoughts on that.
So yeah, breadth first would be we could look all the way around.
Yeah.
And then all the way around.
That's true. And we might want to do that.
So if we start here, we need to find the next letter in the sequence, don't we? So we would look all the way around. So Jason Zion says depth first is smarter.
Jason Zions, who's on my team here at Microsoft. Awesome to see you.
Okay. So that's an insider tip there from someone on the team. Okay, so because I'm just trying Tech Life Genesis, you mean depth first traversal? And Jason's answer confirms says yes, depth first traversal. Yeah, because what we would do is if we find the H, for example, we then look at all the cells left, right, top, and bottom. If we find the one we want, we jump down. Then again, we do around it And so as we find it, we keep tunneling down. So we're going P.
Yeah.
And then if
Right.
you reach a point where if we don't find the O, we kind of backtrack and then carry
Yeah.
on. So we are going depth first and then backtracking.
Yeah.
So one says it depends on the input, I think. And Creed Wilder says depth first search might allow for an early exit in case we find the word. Yes. So as we walk through here,
Gotcha. Yeah.
when we get to the O, we can say done. I found my
yeah.
word. I am done. I don't have to look any further because we don't care where the word is or how many times the word is there. It's just
does it exist?
Does it exist? That's all we care about. Yeah. So having an early exit is good. As soon as we find it, we exit with true. And we are good. Yeah, one says it depends on the input, I think, because I think you can make it bad for both algorithms.
Yeah, we could torture test both of them. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess the goal we've got here as well is we have to just find whether the word is there. We haven't been given anything about optimizations, how fast it's going to be. So as long as it works, I guess whatever algorithm we use doesn't really matter because the requirements aren't necessarily speed.
I think, yeah. But yeah, well, what shall we try to implement first?
So we got as far as looking for the first letter, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So if we find the first letter, we know the location of the letter, don't we? Because we did this.
Yeah.
We've got the index and the item. Thanks to
got the coordinates. Yep.
Yeah. So thanks to one for that with this enumeration. So we've got that. So we could then, if we pass the coordinates through to some kind of function that does the look around left, right, top, bottom for letter, and if it finds it, it just recurses.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound sensible or does that sound dangerous?
I think it sounds reasonable for a first approach. And yes, there can be dangers with recursion. I mean, we need to know, we would need to build in something so that we know if we've hit the end of the board to exit and not just keep going indefinitely, because we would crash our system.
And also we need to make sure we don't keep going backwards on ourselves as well, don't we?
Yeah.
I don't think we've got any situation where we would go backwards, but yes, we need to track where we've been. Because I don't think we've got an example of that, but if we had something where, if we're looking for the word wow in here, for example, would that be valid by going here, there, and then back on ourselves?
Huh. That is an edge case I did not think of.
I think we just don't think about it for now.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, put that in the back of our minds as something that we might need to address. But yeah, that is a good question.
Also, Tech Life Journal says, you guys are so kind and generous. No wonder why senior devs are awesome.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. It's not about senior devs. There are a lot of awesome people out there. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great people there who will share their knowledge, especially senior devs, junior devs, folks who are new in career. I see this a lot. There's a lot of folks who've just started in their career and they want to share what they've learned. So there's a lot of awesome junior devs out there as well. It's a good philosophy in life is to surround yourself by people who make you happy. So whether it's just streamers that you watch, people you follow on social media, or friends, there's people out there who can help you and support you. Surround yourself with those people. But yeah, thank you, Tech Love John, for your kind words. It's great to have you here with us.
All right.
I feel warm and fuzzy now.
Yay! All right. So if we find the first letter, I guess we need to look around.
So, just typing words for now. So what we want is something where when we look around, false.
Oh, yes.
So we need to pass the next turn false there. So we need to pass in the next letter.
Yeah.
Because we found, if we think about our first example, we found the H. we need to look for the E around it, don't we?
Yeah.
And then we want the previous
Position. Yes.
position. If I want to do a tuple of 2
That's what I was thinking.
usizes, what's the syntax for that?
A tuple. I mean, we could do it in parentheses, I think. Parentheses, usize. We might get the red squigglies, but that's my instinct. Oh, maybe we won't. That's my instinct.
So we've got the letter, the previous position. We probably need the board as well, don't we?
Yeah.
And then we need the
Are we kind of re-implementing it? Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I'm just trying to write that longhand. I don't jump in if you think I'm doing anything stupid here, but we've got. So I mean, if I'm actually, let me write it out in comments. Actually,
Go ahead.
So if the character above is letter, if the and so on. So we look above, below,
right, to the right,
left and right,
or left and right. Yep. It's like a number pad, or not a number pad, a direction pad. The thing on a video game controller.
Yeah, up, down, left, right. WSAND if you're playing on a keyboard.
Thank you. Yep.
If we don't find the next letter, drop out.
Yep. And you're showing another good technique for interview questions here is let's talk through it first and let's write it down in comments, because this is forcing you to take something out of your mind, put it in front of you. Number one, so the interviewer can see it. And number two, so it's out of your head and captured somewhere so you can start thinking through the next thing. For me, this is really, really helpful.
Yeah, because you can't juggle all that stuff in your head
right.
that easily. It just takes one distraction and you lose it. So if you write it down, you don't have to think about it. Jason Zines jumps in with HJKL if you're a
Home
Vim
row.
user.
It's true.
So yeah, that's the keys to use.
Use dark mode because bugs are. We need to put that one on screen.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to change to dark mode now just so to get rid of the bugs. No, I normally use dark mode, but light mode actually comes across clearer on streams, I've been told. So that's why I use light mode for streams.
Cool.
Jeff Thomas says, do you not need to pass either the remainder of the word or return a list of possible next letters? If you're adjacent to the next letter multiple times, you're not going to search both currently. Yes. Yes. So actually, the question for you, Nell, on string slices, because if I have a string, I can have a slice that kind of starts partway through the string, can't I?
Correct. Yep.
So if I have hello as my word, could I pass in some kind of
remaining? Oh. That'd be the ampersand str.
So it is ampersand str, so that's the right, because that is a string slice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we did that, what I could do, I'm just gonna the is letter name is obviously we can come up with a better name for that. But this is where I pass in I and J. So if we find it, because if I'm assuming this can be like a recursive function that will keep looking. So if we do find it, we just roll back up and return true. But how would I do the string slice? So if I've got this string, this word, how do I do word past the first letter?
Let me pull this up because I do not remember the syntax off the top of my head. So I hit my microphone.
Okay, now while you're looking at that, I'm going to take this comment from Namino. Programmers never get distracted. Squirrel. Programmers get distracted all the time. Yeah, this is why things like email is the terrible thing to have running on your computer. And
Matthew actually has it right. word, and then we pass in a range.
Nice. Thank you, Matthew.
Yep. Squirrel. Yes. And for me, it'd be bunny. I have pet bunnies. Anyway.
One dot dot. Okay, so this we're talking about ranges before. We did originally have this.
Yeah, so it looks like Rust Analyzer is kind of cranky about it.
Consider borrowing here.
Oh, okay. Are we borrowing the borrow? Well, that seemed to work.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, because this is a slice, as far as this concerns, if we pass hello, as far as this is concerned, that's hello, isn't it? So if we could then do the same thing
very
for
British.
the recursion. Hello there. Hello,
Yep.
Guff. Fancy cup of chow. But yeah, it will. So when we pause the first time, it'll be ELLO, and then if we do the same syntax, it'll be LLO if we kind of recurse on this.
Right. So we're going through the word.
And we just keep doing it until we run out of word, essentially.
Right.
So I guess that's a good guard check here. Do we have any
letters remaining?
If not, we found the word.
Huzzah.
So if remaining words, their length, n equals 0. Turn true.
Okay.
That's a good guard there, because we don't want to keep going past the end of
the
word, which would panic, wouldn't it?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, this is not like a character array in C or C++ where you just keep on going past it, and then you just keep on reading other parts of memory. Rust doesn't let you do that. So we get so let's get so this is the next letter that we want, isn't it?
Yep.
So that's what we want. Then we've got our board. So in theory, then if we just do board, previous position dot 0, previous position dot 1, this is our current location, isn't it? Okay. Oh, probably should do something.
Oh, yes.
But so this is our previous position. So the first values are row and then column. So above would be that, wouldn't it?
Yep.
But before we do that, are we on the top row?
Yeah.
Because if we're the top row, we can't go one above, can we? Because there is nothing above it.
Jason Zions puts in chat, interesting test case to ask the interviewer, in this puzzle, is hello supposed to be findable? This is the doubling back issue that came up earlier. That's a good point. And that would be a good thing to ask.
Well, in this thing is, we need to be able to return whether or not it's findable or not. So we don't care. The actual problem is the word findable?
Right.
We don't care where the word is. We just care, is it findable? Is it just true or false? So if you look at the examples, we've got hello is findable, that returns true. World is findable, returns true. Rust is not, so we return false. Gotcha, so this puzzle is, I mean, it's a great question. You should always get full clarification on the problem you're trying to solve. But 3 L's? Oh, sorry. Hello with 3 L's supposed to be findable.
Oh, sorry. I completely. I misread that. Yeah.
Sorry. So HELLL. Can you go back on yourself? Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier. Is the word wow? If the word wow is what you're looking for, can you go WO and then back on the W?
Gotcha.
4 L's. Hello. That's a great question for the interviewer is, can I double back so that if somebody came up with a new test case to apply to my code, because obviously you could say, you could hard code if the word is hello, return true. If the word is world, return true. If the word is rust, return false. That would pass all three of these cases quite nicely. But yes, it's a question for if you're going to give me more test cases afterwards, can I go back on myself? I mean, 3 L's would not work. H-E-L-L-L, then you can't go to the O. But 4 would work. H-E-L-L-L-L-O, if you can go back on yourself. Great question. Great question.
All right.
So now, here's an interesting one. So a use size is an unsigned size, isn't it?
Correct.
So if I've got a value of 0, can I subtract 1 from it? So I have to do if preview position is greater than 0.
Yeah.
I can't do the math first, can I? I have to do that.
Yep.
Otherwise, it will panic if I subtract 1 from 0 when it's an unsigned size.
That is a good thought.
And then we can say if as one says, no.
It will panic. Yep. Got it.
So then above equals the first letter, if we found the letter.
Did we pass in? Oh, no, we've got first letter right there.
This is the thing we did last time, wasn't it? Where we had that is a reference to that. And then wasn't the thing we had to. There we go.
Yep.
So Namino says, question, why would that be the case? Mathematically speaking, 0 minus 1 would be minus 1, right? Mathematically speaking, that is correct, yes. But you can probably explain this a lot better than I could now.
I'm just reminding myself. So I believe with unsigned, you cannot go negative. With the unsigned types of integer or numbers, you cannot go negative. And I think the idea of that back when memory was much smaller within systems was to save memory in that case.
Yeah, because if you've got an 8-bit number, if it's unsigned, you go from 0 to 255. Whereas if it's signed, because you have to keep one of the bits for the sign, you can only go from -127 to 128.
That's the correct explanation. Yep.
Yeah. So you still got the same 256 numbers, but your limit is whether you can have a negative one or you can't. So yes, you're right. I mean, mathematically, you can subtract 1 from 0 and get -1, but this is an unsigned integer. So
we don't have the minus sign beforehand.
Yeah, there's literally no way to store a minus sign. In fact, we can demonstrate that actually very quickly. Because if I go and test here, x u size equals 0. Let's to equal s minus 1. Okay, in fact, if we just run this, see, it's not even going to compile.
Yep.
So it's already looked to say attempt to compute 0 use size minus 1 use size, which would overflow. So it's saying, it cannot, because we are an unsigned type, even the compiler can spot this and won't let us do it.
Yep.
So yes, as Namina says, it's a limitation of signed versus unsigned. I learned something new. Thanks.
Yay, I'm glad.
Cool. Yeah, because if this was a signed version,
then
just do I32, for example. 32-bit integer. That's fine. That works because this is a signed integer and that goes from, and if we did it, did I8, for example, an I8 goes from -127 to 127.
Cool.
Okay. So if we're the same letter, we can recurse, can't we? And we have the same thing as remaining words, 1 ... The board. And then we need a new tuple, don't we?
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yep.
I think I'm getting to the point with my Rust that I now know that if I see a red squiggly, the first thing I do is I put an ampersand in front of it. That fixes it. So this would then, if it's above, it would then recurse.
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel right?
I think so.
Okay. So if we do the same thing for below.
Yeah.
So
yep.
The length of the board.
Wouldn't it be equal to board though? Well. Oh, okay.
Let me think about it.
I think you're right on.
Because it'd be 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we're already at 3.
Yeah.
Which is the board. So if the board height is 4,
you're right.
We're at 3. That is too high. So actually, we need to be. Oh, don't we need to be there?
Okay.
Because if the board length is 4, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
And if we can only go down if we're at 0,
Position
1,
3.
2.
Yeah.
So if we're at 2, that is less than the board height of 4.
Right.
Minus 1 because it's 0 index, isn't it?
Right.
So,
okay.
We're saying in the position +1. Otherwise, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Yep.
And then we think about left.
So we want to make sure we're on the first column. Yep.
So that means we take the first value from our tuple.
Yep.
As long as it's greater than 0, -1. And then
do something similar with the right.
For this right one, this is one where we've got to be less than. This is.
I want to say width, but I'm trying to. Yeah. The length of the first array or the first row.
Yeah, because this is array of 6 by 4, so it's rectangular. We can't have different lengths of each one, can we?
Mm-hmm.
So we can assume that it doesn't matter what row we're on, they'll all be the same length.
Yep.
As number 0. I should probably rename these things because this is
below.
And then we've got left.
Yeah.
I'm renaming the wrong ones.
Oh no.
Low, left, and right.
Cool.
That's it, isn't it? We've literally been through here.
Feels like it should be. I'm curious what happens when we run the test.
Okay, so what should we rename this function? Because isLetter obviously is just a terrible.
Right.
No, it's the no refunction, refactor.
Is next letter?
So is. Long one.
Yeah, that's fine. Clarity is for me is better than brevity.
And there's especially a few years ago, there's a lot of arguments about self-documenting code, and you have to make sure your
Mhm.
variable names and function names
Right.
are self-documenting. No, write comments, because the comments give you the intent. The code
Mhm.
just tells you what happens, but you should also think of good names. Jason Zion says, is remaining.
Mm.
And Creed Wilder goes, is next letter adjacent.
Mhm.
I like that.
I like that one. Yeah.
Is next letter adjacent. I noticed the Rust analyzer doesn't have a refactor to rename.
Like there, I don't know. Or I feel like there's some function within Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code that should allow you to do that, but I don't remember what it is.
Should have done a find and replace, really, shouldn't I?
Oh, yeah, that'll work too.
Find and replace. Yeah. Okay, so in theory, then, I mean, if I go test.
Mm-hmm. Hey!
Woo!
Cool.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked. Okay, I'm going to rename
that feels
this
good.
one. Wow. I'm going to call this one test 2, and I'm going to go to test 2. ABHJJP.
Okay.
Just go very quickly. FTJNDW. FTJNDW. WD. So this has got WORLD.
Mhm.
WVRIVW. WVRIVW. And our word is world.
Cool. Let's see what happens.
Creed Wilder goes, woo! And
Yay!
Jason goes, nice.
Yes.
Yay!
Celebrations all around.
2 tests passed.
Cool.
Oh, we
now
did
let's try
it.
the negative one. Yep. Well, if we have time. I know we're running right up. I think we have time to do the negative one.
I think we're time for the negative one.
Yep.
Test 3. So A, B, and we have R, U, S, P, F, T, J, N, D, T, because we've got the T of Rust there. B, D, R, R, G, W, V, D, R, R, G, W, W, V, R, I, V, W. So I guess it doesn't matter what the other letters are, but I'm trying to be consistent with the test case, because if in an interview process, I want to make sure I'm exactly consistent with that test case, because that is an exact scenario. There could be a reason for they've got that. We want to show that level of attention to detail. So I'm going to run this.
We need to change the word to Rust, don't we?
We didn't change the word to Rust.
I mean, world also isn't in there, I don't think, but either works. Yep.
And then it failed because we did assert.
Oh.
Is there like assert false or anything?
What I would do actually is I would go to and put a exclamation point right before is in board.
And that just does a not.
Correct. Yeah. Hey.
Retest pass.
Awesome.
We did it.
Hey, sweet.
We did it. Nice.
That feels good.
Yeah. So in terms of, I'm going back to your tech journal was saying about different data structures and algorithms that are being used here. So for Tech Life Journal, what we're thinking about doing here, so we've got a recursive function. So that's something to think about. It's the idea of recursion. So we can repeat the same logic working through something. And then when we kind of reach the end of that, we drop out and kind of roll back. So we've got this recursive function that will look at the letters and then use that to go work through the word. And if we get the right answer, we return true. That unwinds the recursive function and we get true. If it returns false, it unwinds that recursive function and then carries on going down different paths. So we're using recursion here. This is a depth first search that we talked about, because as we get a letter, we're going deeper down the chain. We're not looking at all the letters around here first, then all the letters around here, then all the letters around here. We're going down deep. So this is a depth first search. In terms of the data structures we're using, we've got a 2-dimensional array of fixed size, because based off the tests that we've got here, the problem shows a 6x4 grid. And so we've hard coded that 6x4 grid. This is kind of a great place to bring up conversation around, should you use an array or a vector? So you've got more flexibility on the sizing. disadvantage of a vector is you could accidentally have rows that are shorter than other rows. I know we talked about this a lot in the last episode. So Tech Live Journal, if you weren't here for last week's, check the recording. We dived a lot into choosing what data structure for that. And then things like using a tuple here, it's just because we could. Yep. There was no real reason we could have had this as two different parameters if we wanted to. We could have built an actual record type for this to represent that if we wanted to. So a lot of flexibility of what we could do here. But essentially what we did is we did this, iterate through a board, find a starting point, depth first search, and then having the return false, we don't find it, that kind of fast dropout would make this more efficient. Are you good with big O notation, Nell? Could you say what the big O notation for this would be?
Oh, Lord. Let me take another look at it. Recursion and big O notation is interesting. I mean, what we ideally would like the notation to be is, it would depend on the length of the string. Let's see here.
Because for every letter, we have to do four lookups.
Yeah.
So it depends on the length of the string.
Yeah.
But also the size of the array, because we have to find our initial starting points. Correct.
But it's 4 for each point. It feels like the Jason says the length of the string and the size of the grid. So I'm not quite sure how to translate that exactly into big O notation.
But it's not an exponential one. It's as the grid gets.
It's not n to the power of 2, and that's what you want to avoid.
Yeah. So if hello was hello world, that'll be a 10 letters instead of 5 letters. It will just take twice as long.
Right.
To find it. Same as if the grid was twice the size, it would take twice as long.
And it would consistently grow. Yep. That makes sense.
I'm going to actually do a quick test. I'm going to put an H and E in here because I don't think we've got a situation where we have part of the word there.
Let's find out what happens.
Works fine.
Cool.
Algorithm works. Yay. Awesome. So Jason Zion says L times W times N for length, width of grid, and number of characters. So it's not, it's not N squared. It's not O to NM. It's not, ONM would be O times the number of characters times the size of the board.
Yep, and 1, that is indeed what I meant. N to the power of 2. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Cool. We are actually at time, and I think there might be another Twitch stream about to kick off.
I think so. Yeah. Great spending time with you all here. This was a wonderful way to spend part of the morning in my time, at least. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Nell. This was fun. We'll be back next week where we will be trying to do one problem in one session. We've only got one more of the series left, so we'll try and do in 1 hour, can we do another problem?
Awesome.
But yeah, we'll just hang out and talk more about Rust. But thank you, everyone who joined us. Thank you for questions. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Thank you for your help fixing out our Rust code. And yeah, we'll see you all next week.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.